Hello, everybody. Thanks for coming out today. It's been a while since Kyle's had the opportunity to get in front of all of you, and especially the opportunity just to share his thoughts with all of you, but also the fans out there today. So we appreciate everybody coming here and providing us that opportunity. I think Kyle has a few opening remarks. I think he'd like to walk you through a video of his accident, and then we'll take some questions after that. So, Kyle?
Perfect. Thanks, Chris. Just a few. As all of you are aware, this is obviously the first time for me speaking publicly about my accident in Daytona in the NASCAR Xfinity Series race. So thank you all for coming here to Joe Gibbs Racing to meet with me and let me tell you my story and answer some of your questions I'm sure you're itching about. But before we get to that, first and foremost, I'd like to give a huge thank you to my wife, Samantha. I mean, all that she's gone through since the crash and everything with the overnight stays in hospitals and traveling from hospital to hospital on airplanes and whatever else, and finally being at home, all while being pregnant. Obviously, that's such a huge task for anyone to go through, but you know, for her and her strength and everything, it was obviously huge for us and for me to have her being there by my side. She's my rock, and I couldn't have asked her for anything more, obviously, through this time. If there is a silver lining to any of this, obviously it's been great that her and I have been able to spend a lot of time at home and getting things prepped and prepared for the arrival of the birth of our child here soon. And I wish I could have been more help, but obviously I've been down for the count, so getting better though. And we're both obviously very excited for the arrival of our son here in a few weeks. Thank you to all my family and friends. And in a situation like mine, you really get to know who your friends are. And from all the texts, the phone calls, the messages, and the visits from people who care, that really means a lot to both Samantha and I. You know, you hear people speak about this all the time, but in NASCAR, you really feel the community that it is and the strength that it is, and that, you know, you appreciate the community that we have in this sport. And I've had so many people reach out to me, my fellow drivers, my teammates, and my team members here at Joe Gibbs Racing, as well as my team members all at Busch Motorsports as well too. Their support has meant a lot to Samantha and I, and a lot of folks in NASCAR as well too. You know, a lot of them have come, seen me, visited me, called me, so it's been you know, really appreciative of that. But probably the response from the fans has been the most amazing thing. I think it's just been crazy. Whether it's been the letters, whether it's been the cards, whether it's been just the messages on Twitter. I mean, all the amazing ways that I've received the get well messages from the fans has been amazing. I really appreciate that. I can't thank my sponsors enough. You know, when you think about how this sport works and the plans and everything that goes into what people do and what the sponsors have in store for the year and promotions and things like that, obviously, when things like this happen, you sort of derail those plans, and I feel terrible for it. But obviously, it's something that I've had to go through. Samantha and my sponsors have had to go through as well too. So their response, though, has just been awesome. They've been amazing. They've been there by our side, calling every week, just you know, getting updates and everything like that. So to everyone at M&M's, Interstate Batteries, Monster Energy, especially Toyota. Man, thank you guys so much for being so understanding in this difficult time. All right, so with that said, I thought everyone might be interested in just kind of going back and revisiting the accident of what happened, and what might be more interesting to everyone is just sort of the thought process that actually happened through the accident. I was awake the whole time. I knew everything that happened as it was going and whatnot. So I have a video here of the race broadcast. I'd like to just play it through all the way one time. It's about a minute long or so, and we'll hear, you know, the voices of the announcers, and then I'll go back through and I'll kind of piece by piece lay it out there for you. I know this is live on NASCAR.com, so I apologize if the video or sound quality doesn't quite come through that well, but appreciate those of you watching, and let me take a couple minutes there and kind of explain what happened. So I'll let it roll here. Here it goes. Got it? Okay, roll it.
Eric Jones around. Back across the field. The big one, part 2 at Daytona.
Yeah, they can't do this.
Say hi. Nice straight. Did anybody hit you there, Cal?
A horrific crash for Kyle Busch, who slid through the infield grass and went head on into the inside wall. And he is climbing from that car, and that is an unbelievable sight. Wow.
Looks like there might have been some contact there.
There you see Kyle, top of your screen. And now we'll go from our blimp view, and there you see Kyle and Eric racing together, and just follow that 54 car after the contact with the white 20.
Like there was some contact there, and Kyle bumps into Larson, and it turns him to the left. Elliott Sadler hit there by Brendan Gaughan.
And there's the 54. You saw the impact.
So do I have capabilities here now? Okay, cool. All right, so obviously that was a whale of a hit, but probably the hardest that I've ever had in NASCAR competition. But as I go back here and I replay it just a little bit to kind of give you my thoughts and my process, I'll go back to the beginning here. So my initial plan was to push Eric Jones. And I've been pushing Bubba Wallace there early in the race. We've been making the top lane work through much of it. So my thought process was, okay, I see a gap between the 16 car and the 42 car, and I thought I could push Eric, and Eric would probably go through that gap, and we'd be able to shoot up through the middle. And as I started pushing him, you can actually see it from the second view, which is right here. So as I start pushing him, he kind of goes up towards the middle, and I'm thinking we're going, but I'm too far left offset of him, so I actually turn him sideways, and that's what gets him spinning. So, but as he's spinning, so now I'm like, okay, we're wrecking. So I got to move to the middle. So my thought is, okay, jump to the middle as quick as you can. So that's when I do right here. And then he turns sideways coming back across the racetrack, and I'm like, I'm hoping I can make it through this gap before it closes up. So I get close to the 42, and as I get close to the 42 and I miss the 20, there was no contact between the 42 with me or the 20 with me. And right there, I'm like, oh, good, I'm through. Whew, that was close. But as you see, my car just continues to spin. But right about, if I back it up, right about here is actually where Eric Jones is, the air that's going between our car and his nose to my left rear quarter panel, it actually pushes my car crooked. It actually starts to turn it sideways, the air. And so it puts me into a spin, which then spins me across the infield. So I thought I could save it this whole time while I'm crooked. I'm thinking, okay, I can save this. It's just going to like tank slap back to the left, and I'll probably just slide. But it never did. The car actually just kept spinning the entire time. So I'll go back as far back as I can go here. Hold on one second. It kind of, there we go. All right. So back to this view. When it spins off the racetrack here, you can see my tire marks sort of down at the bottom of the screen, right underneath where the play button is there. As it goes off, I finally locked it down. And so I was 1 foot braking, locking it down. And as I'm going, as I'm sliding, probably about where I'm at actually, right there on the video, I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, okay, the car needs to turn. The car needs to turn. It needs to get sideways. It needs to rudder, essentially. But it never did. And so there's another video that you can see there was no contact from anybody. It just was air that just spun me sideways. So as I'm spinning here, you can see the left front tires locked up. Well, I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, man, it's not ruddering. So I tell myself to let off the brake and see if I can get the wheels to spin to try to get the thing to go back. So you'll see the brake smoke stops on the left front right now. And as I go forward here a little bit more, you can actually see the tire marks kind of stop also. There's no real tire marks on the asphalt, and it's still not ruddering. So I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, it's not slowing down. It's not ruddering. Oh no, it's not slowing down. So I'm like, okay, got to get back to the brakes. So right here, come on. All right, right about, where is it at? There it is. Okay, so does my arrow on the screen? Okay. So right here is where I let go of the brakes to see if I could get it to rudder. And then obviously all the way to here, I was off the brakes just trying to get the thing to go in some sort of direction. The car never moved. It wouldn't go nowhere. So this is where I go back to the brakes, and I actually think to myself, I'm like, I'm bracing for the hit now. So I put both feet on the brake pedal in order to position myself for the crash. And when I do that, I then think to myself again, why would I want to break both legs? or both feet. You know, I got both feet on the pedal. I'm like, that's stupid. So take the right foot back off. So I took my right foot back off the brake pedal, but kept my left foot on. So as I continue going here, obviously now I'm just bracing for the hit, but I'm also telling myself, I'm like, oh no, it's not slowing down. It's not slowing down. This is going to hurt. This is going to hurt. So I'm telling myself all that. And then I'm also saying, pull your legs back. When you get close enough to the wall, pull your legs back. But sometimes your mind doesn't necessarily overpower your physical abilities. But I'm telling myself to do that. But once I hit the grass, once I got to this position right here and I hit the grass, that was brace mode. That was when I tucked down, I put my hands in tight, and I braced. I just braced for the hit. I totally forgot about my legs. So I left my left foot on the brake pedal, and my right foot was just kind of floating. I think it was obviously right next to the gas pedal. So when it hit, I left the racing surface back at the yellow line, right? I can't get the video exactly. So back here where they are, I left the racing surface at 176 miles an hour, and I hit the wall at 90. So the impact was 90 miles an hour, and it was 90 Gs. Obviously, it was a huge hit. And as soon as it hit, right here, as soon as it hit, I was awake the whole time, but there was a moment where when everything compressed back and I compressed forward, when I came through the seat, into the seat belts, into the restraints, all the air in my body escaped. Like I was just like, ah! Like it was pushed out. Like you're trying to hold tight, you're trying to hold it, but it was just pushed out. And there's a mark on my helmet. My helmet hit the steering wheel. My chest hit the steering wheel. And when everything from in front of me, the engine, all the chassis works, everything, it all came back to me. As it came back to me, I went forward. The engine hit the 1x2 piece of tubing in the chassis, which then hit the gas pedal, which then hit the throttle stop, which then forced the throttle stop back towards me 3 inches farther than what it would normally be at 0% throttle. So when it came back to me and I went to it, just the pure smack of my right leg, that's what broke my right leg. And obviously just being in a car accident with your left foot being on the brake pedal, that's what broke my midfoot, was my foot being on the brake. But as soon as the wreck happened, as soon as I hit, I knew instantly my right leg broke. I could feel it. It was just a sharp pain. It wasn't like I don't know, even after the car came to a stop and the crash was over and I was just sitting there, at first I was like, okay, I'm just going to sit here for a minute and take a breath. But there was a flash fire that came through the air box, and I was like, nope, never mind, I got to get out. So I was like, how's this going to work, me getting out of the car? So I pulled the steering wheel off, I pulled my belts off, and I knew my right leg was broke, so I pushed with my left foot to see if I could get out with my left foot. Nope, I couldn't push on my left foot because it was just, boom, instant pain, sharp pain. So I said, okay, push with the heel. So I pushed with my left heel was fine. So I grabbed the roll bars that I normally grab when I get out, I pushed with my left foot, and I knew if I could just get to the door that hopefully the wreckers would be there in time, the safety crews, they would be there in time in order to help me get out and to pull me out. So I knew to get to the door. So that's what I did. So as I roll along here, that's where you'll see me. Obviously, I'm getting out, and I was just trying to get to the door. So when I get to the door, I just sit there. The guy was going to help me back up, but I'm like, nope, we're not doing that. So I had to flip my visor open and talk to him. So I flipped my visor open, and I turned to him, and I tell him, I said, my right leg is broke, my left foot is broke. And I don't know if he couldn't hear me or if he was shocked, but I told him like 4 times over again so he could hear me. So a couple of the guys, they grabbed me, they got me to the ground. And when they got me to the ground, obviously there, I felt somewhat safe at least, and ready to go on my ambulance ride. But from the beginning, the wreck was essentially all my fault. I was being greedy and trying to win the race and push Eric Jones and get ourselves to the front, so then he and I could try to decide the race between ourselves and JGR compadres. But didn't quite work out that way, and obviously I injured myself in the process. So just a freak deal, nature of the beast, I guess you'd say. But past that, one other note of interest, I guess, is this right here. If you watch Elliott Sadler's car, you can see him kind of going at the same pace, at the same plane as what my car did. So you can see both of us right now, but fortunately he had Brendan Gaughan to come through and hit him, which just spun him around and kept him from getting the inside wall. If I could have had another car hit me, obviously, I feel like I would have been in a safer position and maybe not have gotten injured. But again, it is what it is. It's the nature of the beast. So that's sort of my story and what all happened in my crash. Of course, I can answer any further of your questions, but now for my announcement, what we're all here for. I've given this a lot of thought. Samantha and I have talked about it with a lot of hard work and help from friends, and probably a lot of crispy M&Ms powered by interstate batteries and a body with Toyota on it. I now plan to pursue a career in professional RC car racing. So I think that'll be my best bet of staying safe. But no, I'm just kidding. Truthfully, I'll be back. But that was just something to throw in there at the end.
Thanks, Kyle. I think it's a rare opportunity to go through something like that with a driver like that, and so I think everybody appreciates that. We'll do some questions from the audience. I think Jenna has the mic right now. Bill's out there, and he'll rotate the mic around.
Okay.
Jenna Fryer, AP. Welcome back, Kyle.
Thanks.
Two things struck me. One, your absolute recollection, frame by frame, and two, the self-awareness you seem to have of everything that was going on. Is the recollection because you've watched it? And is that something that every driver, when you're wrecking, are you that in the moment? And it seems to happen in the blink of an eye, but you're breaking it down moment by moment, and it sounds almost like a 10-minute occurrence.
Yeah, no, that was probably at least 10, 15 minutes. No, truthfully, the day after the accident happened, I had a couple visitors in the hospital. Actually, right after the Daytona 500, some people came by and they asked me if I remember what happened or what did happen, and I told them that exact story without even having to review the film. Obviously, Samantha was there. She could testify to that, but no, I was awake the whole time. I knew exactly what I needed to do or what I needed to try to do. And I can't speak for other drivers, but in my instances of crashes that I've had before, you're never done driving until you're stopped, in my opinion. I mean, I think you can always try to do something. In my instance, the only thing I did forget to do, and it might be weird to say this, but is downshift. If I could have downshifted to third or even downshifted to second gear, I might have gotten the car to wheel hop and actually spin and maybe back in or hit some other way than head on, and maybe I could have, saved myself. But now thinking back on it, that was after sitting there thinking about it for a week or so. That okay, well, what else could I have done? That you'll keep in the back of your mind for times going forward.
All right, Claire?
Claire B. Lang, Sirius XM NASCAR Radio. Yeah, welcome back, and it's good to see you. And it seems like you're pretty cheery and you look real good. Want to ask you whether you will change the way that you race, given that you got injured being so greedy, and how in general you're feeling.
Yeah, I've been in a lot of wrecks before. I had the Talladega truck crash years ago that rung my bell a little bit, and then I also had the Daytona Xfinity Series crash back in 2012. That was probably the second hardest hit to date that I've had. But as far as racing any differently, when you're racing for wins, especially at restrictor plate tracks, it's so circumstantial. Anything can always happen. I mean, that's why sometimes you see guys ride in the back. You just don't want to get caught up in those situations. But to be honest with you, it's fate. That's what takes you. It doesn't have anything to do sometimes with pure skill. It just has to do with luck and where and where the good Lord will take you. So as far as my health and how I'm doing, I feel good. I'm feeling okay day by day. It was month by month, then it was week by week. And actually, I should still say it is week by week. Can't get too ahead of myself. The doctors won't let me. But it's coming along well. I mean, I'm working out every day. I'm in the gym. I'm trying to do things as best I can, and that's it.
Jim?
Jim Utter, Charlotte Observer. Welcome back, Kyle. Steve O'Donnell told me over the weekend that you had come to the R&D center and they had kind of walked you through your car and through the crash. I was just wondering, was there anything more enlightening that came out of that besides what you already kind of recalled from the videos?
I mean, that was. I mean, I've seen cars wrecked and I've seen some pretty bad crashes. I think we all have, and you've seen a lot of cars destroyed, whatever you might want to say. But as far as the compression of the race car, you know, I felt like there was a lot there, and a lot to learn for myself, for Joe Gibbs Racing, for our engineers here, but also the engineers at NASCAR, to learn and understand. And I know they're kind of thankful that I was actually able to get out under my own power and they didn't cut the car, so they could actually take it back and they can still review it more and more, and really do a diagnostic on it. And they still are. They're still working through it as we speak. So, you know, I feel like when I saw the wreck, how bad it probably was worse than what I expected it to be when I looked at it. But now seeing it and looking at it and understanding what happened in the cockpit and what it all looked like, I mean, I didn't sit there when I was in the car getting out of the car and being like, oh man, look at that, holy smokes. You know, I had a few other things on my mind at that time. But when I got back to go to the NASCAR R&D Center, obviously that was when I got a good chance to see, you know, what it looked like, and to see how much safety innovations NASCAR has come up with over the years to keep me here today. I mean, I'm alive today just because of the fact I think that the restraints worked, the seat worked, the Hans device worked, everything worked. It was just the pure, you know, foot cockpit of the area that obviously injured me. But I can't say enough about NASCAR and their innovations of from knees up, no problem, nothing. You know, not a mark on me, not a bruise, not a headache, not a neck ache, nothing. You know, it was all great. It's just a matter of, you know, your flailing feet when you're in a wreck like that.
Dustin Long, NBC Sports. Kyle, obviously when you come back, it's not going to be to run 15th. You're going to want to get in the car and win immediately. So what do you need to do? How will you feel that you'll be ready to win races to determine when you get back in the car? And do you kind of have a rough timetable on when that might be?
Well, first and foremost, I got to please my doctors. You know, I got to go step by step and do everything that they asked. And so far, I've tried to do that, although maybe a couple times I've done something that I wasn't supposed to do, but it's all been so far so good. Such as just getting up and walking too soon and standing too soon, standing without boots and everything else. So, you know, it's been good, though. They've been very helpful. The doctors down at Halifax were awesome. The hospital was amazing. The staff was really, really good to us there. And then getting back here to Charlotte, same thing, you know, working with Dr. Anderson on my foot, obviously, and having him do the surgery there. Everything's been going along really well. They say my recovery is going faster than they expected, but yet they still won't, I've even asked, they won't release me a timetable. I'm not lying to you. It's just, you know, they're like, okay, you know, now you're released to stand up in both boots, you know, now you're released to walk, you know, now you're released to walk without a boot on your right, you know, so it's week by week, and it's what I can show them and what I can do and what my physical therapist says that I'm capable of. So as far as a timetable, that's still not set yet for me to get back, but as long as my strength continues to improve and I can continue to show the doctors and the NASCAR folks that that I'm able to do the things necessary for me to get back in the race car, then you know, that time will be determined as I get better.
You think that could be by Daytona in July?
As far as can it be by Daytona in July, I would presume so. Again, I'm not going to say that that I will be. I'm not. The reason why we all don't want to give a timetable is because I do something wrong and I re-injure myself. We don't want to say, yeah, I'm going to be back by Daytona, and then I do something stupid and it puts me back till chase time. You know, it just doesn't make any sense. So I can't push myself any faster than what natural healing is. I mean, natural healing has been around as long as I know, for about 3,000 years. So, you know, it's certainly the timetable given to us by our own bodies, and everybody's different.
Jeff Clark from USA Today. Can you hear me? NASCAR has undergone a huge effort since your crash to put safer barriers in more locations. They weren't there when you hit. Now they're going to be there. What's been your reaction to all this?
Well, I mean, obviously with the reaction to everything, you know, I'm not going to say I'm happy about the wall that I hit not being protected. I can't. I mean, that's just not being honest. So I was disappointed that that wall's not covered, but I am encouraged by the act that the racetracks have taken and the steps that they've taken in order to get things going and in the right direction for driver safety. We work for the fans. Obviously, the fans are what drive the sport, and we do everything possible for them, as well as our sponsors and everybody involved in the business. But driver safety, it needs to be one of those items at the top of the list. I think any of us would agree to that. And with being able to get tire barriers up or safer barriers up, whatever it might be, in the right circumstances. If there's a wall that needs a tire barrier, put a tire barrier there. If it needs a safer barrier, put a safer barrier there. But it can't be constructed overnight, So there's a timetable there. I understand that, but we're all hoping sooner rather than later.
Lee Spencer, Motorsport.com. Right foot or left foot brake?
Left foot's broke.
No. When you
do
brake
I?
in the car, left foot,
Oh.
right foot breaker.
Left foot.
My husband apologizes for not being here, but he wanted me to ask you, has there been a moment through all this where you felt sorry for yourself that, you weren't competing with the rest of the guys? And if so, has what happened to JD had any effect on the way you kind of see big picture?
Yeah, I wouldn't say that I have felt sorry for myself. I would just say I'm disappointed. I feel bad. I feel bad for my team. I feel bad for my sponsors. And I feel bad for my fans that are all out there that were wishing and hoping that I could be in a race car, It's certainly discouraging to not be out there and to be watching on the sidelines. But yet, being in the team meetings and being involved in all of that still with the team and the organization and with Denny and Matt and Carl and David. And, I think that's been really good to still be involved in that respect. So certainly sometimes God has a lot of different things in his mind set forth for you. And obviously this is one of those situations where Samantha and I are dealing with and learning through. And to your question about JD, yeah, things could be a heck of a lot worse, and I'm thankful that it wasn't worse than what it was. I could have had a serious neck or head injury or even worse, So to us, we've prayed about it. We've been thankful for it, and that I'm still here and actually able to be a part of the birth of our son here in a couple weeks.
Bob Pockris, ESPN. What will determine when you can get back? Is it just a matter of doctors seeing an x-ray and saying, okay, it looks good, or do you need to show a certain amount of movement in your feet? And as far as just a kind of pain tolerance, is it your left foot more kind of the focal point than your right leg? And do you have any hopes of being eligible for the chase when you do return?
Do you want to separate those any for me? Yeah. Man, I've been out of this thing for 3 months. Break me in slow. Okay, so as far as what I got to do to please the doctors, to me, I think it's the bone growth has been coming along really well. The break in the leg has, we got an x-ray 2 weeks ago, and you could still see a little crack through it, but it's obviously coming together really well. The foot, I just got a CT scan on the other day. Doctor loved it. He said it looked awesome. So again, what is going to be the tolerance? That I'm not exactly sure. I think it's just what I can do, how much strength I feel like I can have. Obviously being a football player, that's a heck of a lot different task than being able to get into a race car and drive a race car. So will I be able to tackle driving a race car a lot sooner than going for a triathlon with Jimmy Johnson? For sure. So that's just to be seen by the doctors. If I can prove to them and show to them I can do what they want me to be able to do, then they're going to release me for further activity. I go back in another 2 weeks, I believe, for my next visit. So that's about all I know until then. What was the other question?
Do you hope to be eligible for the chase?
Okay. Do I hope to be chase eligible when I return? Of course, yeah. I would love to be. I don't know if it's going to be 100% feasible to make the top 30 rule, and I know the top 30 rule is in place for those one-offs that guys come in, a team or a driver that race in, say, a Daytona or Talladega or even a road course race and they win it. It's not meant for those guys to be able to take a spot from a series regular that races every week for the chase. So do I hope NASCAR takes into consideration that I and M&M's and Interstate Batteries and Toyota and the number 18 car were a full-time team that was to be eligible for chase competition at the beginning of the year? certainly I hope they take that into consideration for the top 30 rule, but obviously that's left up to them. That's in their hands.
Alan Cavana, Fox Sports. You could see, people go through something traumatic, maybe not wanting to revisit it all the time. But why is it important to you to break down a video like this and go to NASCAR and have that understanding?
Well, the wreck was so bad that you got to go to NASCAR. You got to help them through the process and what all happened in the car, so we can continue to evolve safety and make the cars better. A driver got hurt, so we got to fix that. Will we ever be able to re-engineer every single crash scenario there ever may be? No. But the ones that we do have that I'm still here for, I can help. And so I feel like I could be a help to that. As far as, what was the other part?
I mean, is this therapeutic for you to go?
Oh, okay. It's not necessarily therapeutic for me to go back through the crash, but if I was able to walk out of the infield care center, people would ask me, okay, well, what happened? So I think that was a more in-depth view than what I would give in a normal interview, and obviously I'm in a lot better spirits than I would have been right after that situation. So time heals all wounds, especially those when you're asked right after getting out of a crash. But just trying to reiterate what happened, and just to show how amazing it can be for those in those situations, that how fast your mind actually works. I mean, it's milliseconds that all that happened and those thoughts go through your mind. It's crazy.
For a guy who races as much as you have in the past, whether it was Cup, truck, late models, whatever, how difficult has this time period been sitting out of the car? And I know you've been to a couple late model races and here and there. How therapeutic was that to get to the track and get back even into the shop and get into these competition meetings?
Yeah, I mean, like I said before, it's discouraging. It stinks to be sitting on the sideline, but to be honest with you, like I said, the silver lining, just to be home, to be with Samantha, and to prep for our son coming. I think that's been the most fun. Although I've just been rolling around in the wheelchair and whatever else. Now finally getting to my feet, not carrying a whole lot of load yet, but it's been good. It hasn't been traumatic. I mean, yeah, we've had a couple moments where we've shared, we're crying on each other's shoulders, whatever it might be. I mean, it's been a very difficult time in the beginning, but we've sort of dealt with it and know that this has been what's given to us, so we deal with it. And yeah, it's been fun to get out, more and more. I mean, day 4 of being home, we were on the road going to see an ultrasound, Day 6, 7, we were doing what? Where'd I go? I went somewhere. Of being home, I think I came to JGR. Went to KBM, that's right. So, just to get out and get around, instead of being locked up in the same old place, see some sights. I got a nice window to the left of my bed that I get to look out and watch the squirrels play, but that's about it, So, it's not been terrible. Again, just wanting to get back. I mean, obviously I'm itching to get back. I want to get back sooner than later, but we obviously got to be smart about it too, knowing that I got a long career ahead of me, hopefully still, that we don't need to rush anything too crazily, and that, try to be as much healthy as I can be to get back and power a race car.
Louis Frank of Reuters. Kyle, in different eras in motorsports, certain drivers had become advocates for safety. In that context, I'm wondering, how much attention did you pay on placement of safety barriers, or were you content to let Jeff Gordon discover where they needed to be?
Yeah, I'll let Jeff discover them all the time. I know he's discovered plenty of them, and we actually owe a lot to Jeff Gordon for taking those hits, but I think I finally found the one that could really hurt. So this might sound absolutely bona fide crazy, but as I was rolling off pit road before the start of the nationwide race, and there was guys pulling off to the left and they were recentering their steering wheel, I actually looked over at that wall. I saw the tire wall and I was like, wow, I never even really noticed it over there. And then I saw the wall that was unprotected and I'm like, man, if somebody hits that, that's really gonna hurt. I mean, that happened. I'm not crazy, but you can tell me I am, that's fine. And then I go and find it. I mean, just amazing. But as far as being an advocate for safety, I just think it's useful when you're in that situation to help as much as you can, to give those answers to the NASCAR engineers and to help them innovate and to make some changes to our cars, to make some changes to the racetracks, to get the racetracks to step up and make those changes. Anything and everything is useful. Any information that us drivers can give is beneficial to those individuals, and more times than not, we'd really appreciate it if they listen to us.
Corey Collins, Sporting News. Kyle, you talked about the hardship you've gone through being out this long, but also how good it's been to be home. But are there tangible ways that you'd say you've become a better driver or even a better person just by having this outside perspective that maybe you haven't had for years?
I don't know. I don't know yet. I can't answer that question yet. You know, I don't know if me getting back into the race car, if I'm going to struggle or if I'm going to be right where I left off and I'm going to be fine. I mean, to be truthfully honest, I have not yet driven a 2015 race car at all. You know, last time I was in a downforce car was Homestead last year. I raced the Sprint Unlimited and the Gatorade Duels in Daytona, and then was to make the Daytona 500 start. But then past that, I have no 2015 experience yet. So that'll be interesting to see how all that goes when I get back in the race car, whenever that may be. And you know, hopefully I can adapt pretty quick just by listening and taking in what my fellow competitors here at JGR can give me for information.
Kyle, Caitlin Vinci, Fox Sports. Good to see you and Samantha as well. Now, David Reagan has been in the 18 car the last couple of weeks. How would you maybe rate his performance, and how much have you been working with him as well?
Yeah, so I can't say enough for Matt Crafton and David Reagan for being able to step in this situation. I mean, it's crazy to think that Crafton just got home and was just laying his head down on his pillow to go to bed, and he got a call to come back to Daytona to go race in a Sprint Cup Series race for his first ever start in the Daytona 500. But he did a great job. I mean, I think he learned a lot. I've talked to him a little bit, and you know, he said the car was pretty tight, which I guess you'd expect, you know, just jumping into something you've never driven. But that he did a great job. I mean, to come home after that last lap crash on the backstretch still with an 18th place finish, I thought was good. And then, you know, David Reagan being able to come in as a substitute driver and participate with the best of the JGR drivers here, he's done a great job. To be honest with you, I think we as a company maybe still be behind just a little bit. But David Reagan's 10th in points right now. I mean, the kid's doing a fine job, you know. He may not be lighting the world on fire, but he's doing exactly what he needs to be doing for this team. This team is a brand new team this year. Adam's obviously getting used to David as a driver and not me, but the team is gelling well. I've talked to the guys every week. I come by here and I see everybody and I participate in our meetings and go on the shop floor. And so they get to see me, see my progress, which is good too. So it's a good time right now for the 18 team to just continue on down that path. And I'm sure they're all itching for me to get back. So I can't let them pursue my wishes too quickly.
Marty Smith, ESPN. Welcome back, Hoss. Good to see you, man.
Yep.
You've mentioned a couple times here that it could have been worse. Those were your exact words a couple times here. How much thought have you given to how fortunate you are to be sitting here right now?
We've given some thought to it for sure. I think Samantha still sometimes sheds some tears over it, you know, at nighttime, just thinking about that. And we are very fortunate. We're blessed. We know that with our lives that we have, being in the Sprint Cup Series, me being a driver here, us being married, us being blessed now with the opportunity to go through IVF, as she's mentioned in her blogs and whatnot, that we're going to have our first son here in a little bit. It's obvious. Everything seems to be a challenge, you know. It doesn't seem like anything ever comes easy, but yet we power through it. We strive as hard as we can. We dig deep, and we make it all happen. It might not seem 70 and sunny and peaches and roses on the outside, or it does seem that way, I should say, but maybe sometimes it's not all that way on the inside of things. But, you know, in retrospect, we're very blessed.
Kyle, I think the day after the accident, Joe was asked about your future in other series, and he said how racing is so much a part of yours and Samantha's life. And when they tried to have you not do it, it didn't work out well for you personally or even on the track. So what does this do to your extracurricular racing?
Well, as far as it goes right now today, my answer is that we're focused on Cup. I got to get back into the Cup car first and foremost and make sure that I can withstand the capabilities of driving a Cup car for full distances. And, you know, it's not necessarily like starting over, but maybe it is. I mean, truthfully, to walk, the first time I stood up, I about passed out. I mean, it's just like trying to relearn how to walk. I mean, we knew how to do this when we were 1 year old. So the process will be interesting. We'll just see how it goes. But as far as getting back into the Xfinity Series or the Camping World Truck Series, obviously we have contracts in place, so there's reasons for me to get back in those cars and pursue races. But as quickly as that might be, we'll just play it out and see how I feel. I think I'll kind of work up to that.
Along those lines, with the no testing policy, how does that impact your ability to maybe get in a, can you get in a late model and shake it down? I mean, how do you know that you're ready to go full and cup?
Yeah, so good question. I knew it was going to come, but my plan right now and the doctor's plan right now, when they release me, they're going to give me clearance to go test a late model. I'm going to go somewhere, whether it's around here, wherever we go. I'm going to go get into one of my late model cars because that's all I can test. You know, I can't test a truck, an Xfinity car, or a Cup car. So I'll get into a late model car here whenever they release me to go, and probably do a couple test sessions at least, and you know, see how it all shakes out, see how it goes, and then determine my readiness for Cup.
And when Tony broke his leg, he said, I mean, while it was not obviously fun to sit out, it was a little bit easier to handle because you just know you can't go. I mean, it's not like you can tough it out. I'm curious, did you have that kind of, I mean, are you pretty much like, it stinks, but there's just absolutely no way I can do it?
Yeah, for sure, no doubt. Especially in the beginning. I mean, it was actually really easy to sit at home and watch the races, knowing that I physically can't. There's absolutely no way. But I'm sure it's going to get more difficult as I become more agile, you know, able to move around better and to, you know, sit in a race car, sit in a seat and make pedals go and make the car go around the racetrack. I think once you get to that point and determine how good you are, then it's kind of going to be, okay, we got to make a decision here. We got to get back in the race car, you know, but still you can't allow yourself to overspeed your return just based off the fact of knowing that I got a long career ahead of me and there's no sense in trying to rush it. But we'll be smart about it in order to come back.
Just curious, what did you do those first few weeks? What was your daily life like? Did you just watch TV, play on your phone? I mean, like, how do you spend the days when you can't walk?
It was TV. It was a lot of elevation and ice, of course. Couple video games here and there, you know, playing some Xbox or some PlayStation, getting some Madden going on or something like that. What else? Huh? A lot of visitors. Yeah, I would say that's probably been the biggest thing. I mean, shoot, there were days where it was like, holy smokes, it's dinner time. You know, where did they go? I mean, honest, you know, we woke up at 8, 9 o'clock and all of a sudden it was 6 p.m. It was like, wow. You know, it almost felt faster being at home than it did actually being out on the road and going to these racetracks.
Dustin Long, NBC Sports again. A couple things, Kyle. You've talked about helping NASCAR be more proactive in terms of safety stuff after this accident. How would you assess what you were beforehand? You made the comment you noticed the wall at Daytona leaving.
Mm-hmm.
Is that something that you would have said something later, or is that something, if you see something now, you're going to make sure somebody knows about? And secondly, if you can talk about, I guess, the little victories along the rehabilitation, whether it's, I'm assuming you have stairs in your house and walking upstairs instead of sliding up on your rear or something like that, things like that.
Yeah. So, yeah, the safer barrier, the wall, or the being an advocate for safety. I mean that there. You know, there's been drivers, including me, that have spoken up and have said, "Man, we feel like we need walls here. This wall's too sharp. You know, it rounds the corner too fast." Things like that, and they don't get changed overnight because they just can't. But you know, when you're at Daytona and you see that wall and you tell Robin Pemberton, "Man, that wall just doesn't make sense. It needs to be not as abrupt. It needs to be more gradual." And then you come back to Daytona the next time and it's fixed. It's like, well, they listened, you know. So I wouldn't say that 100% of the time it goes in one ear and out the other. Maybe just 1% of the time. But a lot of the times they listen. You know, they take our thoughts and considerations to heart. And I know Harvick spoke up about him hitting that exact wall the year before, I think, and it not changing, and it took my hit in order to get it to change. But hopefully that's just a testament to us drivers actually knowing what we're talking about, and people taking more notice to that, especially the racetracks. I mean, the racetracks are the ones that are in charge of it. It's not necessarily NASCAR. NASCAR can only help so much. The little victories, yeah. It's been interesting, when I first got home from the hospital, my right leg here, I couldn't even move my ankle. I could maybe move it a quarter of an inch, and now I'm probably about 80% of the way there, of just being able to move my ankle. My knee, oh my gosh, my knee has been probably the most painful thing, because the doctor from Daytona, he made an incision here above the knee in order to put the rod in through my leg, instead of normally going onto the side of the tendon over here where you don't screw the tendon up. But it's a better practice, he said, to go up here and to put the rod in. And everything was lined up really, really good. All the doctors down here were really impressed. It's just been trying to get the mobility and the strength back in my quad and everything. So to be able to move it, to even be able to move it, I couldn't even move it for probably a week and a half. But now already, like last night, the therapist was over, and laying on my stomach, bending my knee back, my ankle actually touched my butt. So doing good, getting better. Every day is a moral victory. So being able to stand up and almost pass out the first time, that was rough. And then 2 days later to be able to stand up fine, and to be able to start doing leg workouts, and now I'm doing squats, I think the next thing, tomorrow I go to physical therapy again, I'll be doing leg presses, how much weight can I do? So it's just a matter of every day that goes by that you get better. Being able to walk, first I got up, and then, the next step was try to put one foot in front of the other. I'm on a walker. The next step was, now I'm carrying the walker around. So in case I fall or do something, I trip, I got something to catch myself. So then I'm carrying the walker around. Now the walker's gone. So it's just every day, man. Every day is just a little bit better.
Do you have any surgeries or anything that will help you?
Dustin Long's question is if I have any farther surgeries that I need to do. Yes, I do have surgeries planned already for December. I have to go back in for my left foot and get the plates and screws taken out of my left foot.
You done, Dustin?
Couple.
She's making sure Dustin's. Lee,
Couple more?
time for a couple more, I think.
Lee Spencer Motorsport. We've all followed your and Sam's exploits on Facebook and Twitter. You guys have just, followed the progress you guys have had, fun, what have you, with this. But what have you really learned about yourself through this type of situation that you didn't know perhaps going in?
That I actually do have a little bit of patience. Not a lot, but maybe a little. I think the other thing too is, obviously, Samantha and I share a lot of respect and love for one another, but I don't think anything's come as close as this experience that we've had to deal with. With her being there by my side and helping me, and essentially being there for my dinner bell. I mean, it's been awesome to have her, but also just her helping me. I mean, she was there when I first stood up. She was there holding my hand as I was making steps. She was there pushing me in the gym to do arm workouts or to do core workouts. She's been my second PT. She's on my butt. So I think she wants me back just to get me out of the house and to get ourselves back into a rhythm of what we're used to. So I think that's been a huge learning experience for us, our relationship. And being prepared or getting prepared, I don't think we're ever prepared for the birth of our son. So, it's been good.
ChrisFrankKitchens.com. Good to see you back, Kyle. With several of the upcoming races relatively close to home, is there any desire to come to the racetrack and just be around in the atmosphere? And Tony Stewart had a similar injury to what you had. Have you talked to him about what to expect maybe moving forward?
Tony was actually my first visitor at the hospital the day after the Daytona 500. He actually came right over when the race was over, and he was there 3-4 hours. I mean, he was there for a long time. Actually, everybody went to the airplane, and he came over to see me, and he was like, they can wait. So that was really cool to have Tony come by. I've talked to him a lot about his injury. Our injuries are entirely different, yet somewhat similar because they're compound fractures of the lower leg. But his was way more severe than what mine was. So, as far as the return timetable, mine would obviously be quicker than his was. But it's been great to have people to lean on and to talk to. His PT is the same as mine. His doctor that did his surgery is the one that's now kind of keeping up with me here in Charlotte. So, that's been fun. What was the first question?
With the races being relatively
Close to home. Am I going to go to a race? I don't know. Obviously, Charlotte's right here, so I'll probably go to Charlotte. As far as Bristol this weekend, it's supposed to rain, but there's also a late model race, so I'll probably go there. What else? Richmond's not far away. That's a Toyota race, maybe. Talladega, probably not. But, Kansas, probably not. Just long flights, stuff like that. Just stay maybe close to home.
Go back there to Jeff and then finish the party. Hey, Kyle, Jeff Taylor, Raceline. You've mentioned your wife, a child on the way. As a person, has it ever entered your mind that I'm done? And, it's just, I got lucky and I'm going to walk away. Did the thought of being done ever enter your mind?
It never did. Nope. I did think, though, that, as it happened, when it happened, I'm sitting there in the race car. And as I was actually I forgot to mention this, but as I was getting out, I knew my right leg was broke. When I was on my way out, it got stuck. I actually had to pull it. And I was like, man, as I'm doing all that, I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, man, I'm done. Like, there's no way, I'm going to be able to come back from this. This hurts. But that was probably the only time. I mean, I think that was just because it was so new, so it was so abrupt that once you get to the doctors and they say, oh, man, you're going to be as good as new. You're going to be better than new. You're now going to be stronger. You're going to have titanium in you. You're going to be a man. You're going to be a man of steel. So, the new thing around the shop is that I legitimately now really do have screws loose. So if I ever blame a screw loose on me doing something stupid, then obviously it's truthful. So that's kind of funny. But no, past the hospitals, getting home, it's just all about getting better and getting back to the track, not giving it up.
Marty Smith, ESPN. So Brad Keselowski wrote this blog, and he was really honest about the evolution of your relationship with him and how y'all didn't like each other, and he was an ass and you were an ass and all this ass stuff. Did you read that? What was your reaction to it if you did? And how much guts does it take for a guy who's so competitive in that arena to open up like that?
I guess I read it. I don't know what I read, but I guess I read it. I don't know how to go. There's a lot of things I can go here, but for him writing it, it was probably good. For when it came out, was probably poor. But it was based off him missing me, essentially, and me not being out there on the racetrack with him, making stories with him probably on the racetrack, so he made a story about us off the racetrack. So that's why I say the timing, I think, was bad. But past that, the occurrences that he reciprocates in that story, I don't recollect one bit. Not 1% of that, I don't recollect. Why would I be sitting at the back of my hauler the first time somebody comes up to me and says hello, and I just ignore them? That doesn't make any sense to me, especially me being a 16-year-old kid just getting into the sport. Whether that was before or after qualifying when I just wadded up my truck and had to start at the back in a backup truck at IRP, I don't know. Like I said, I don't recollect that. It might have just been after Jack Roush chewed my rear off. Again, I don't recollect that. The second one I do recollect because, he was weekly making an ass of himself of wrecking people and being an idiot, and so I had no respect for him, so I didn't want to talk to him. So, that's my take on his story. It is what it is, and, he, I guess, had a lot of guts to write it. That's all I can really say about it.
Appreciate everybody for coming. Appreciate all your time, Kyle.
No problem.
And thanks, everybody.